Good evening and welcome. Thank you for joining our special broadcast of BIBLE Network. Our breaking news tonight will sure capture the hearts of all.
Our leading story, Jerusalem, the Jewish citadel, was invaded. That's right, the attack led by King Nebuchadnezzar targeted the old and sickly. It involved murder and destruction. The young and strong were spared, but only to be kidnapped and brought back to Babylon for enslavement.
That's right. Our field reporter, Jeffrey, has more on this story.
Jeffrey here, reporting live from Babylon, where I have with me a Jewish captive who has quite an incredible story. Daniel here was captured in the Jewish invasion in Jerusalem and then taken back to Babylon, where he has been chosen recently to serve the king after some years of training. Could you explain to me how this all went down for you, Daniel?
Yes, my superiors noticed that I was a lot stronger than some of the other slaves. So they also were curious if I was intelligent as well. So I went through a period of testing and training and have indeed proven that I've been eligible to serve the king.
Now, that's an incredible story, but it did not come without any roadblocks. Along the way, you were asked to eat meat that had been sacrificed to other gods other than your own God. So how did you handle that?
Yes, I refuse to eat meat that has been sacrificed to God, so I have strictly chosen vegetables, and in fact have become as strong as those who have been eating meat.
And you even made a deal with the king. Could you explain that deal to me?
Yes, the deal was if I ate vegetables and were as strong or stronger than those who have eaten meat, then I would be eligible to serve the king.
Well, that's a great story, Daniel, and we wish you luck along your way as you serve the king.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to a live broadcasting of the BIBLE Network. You may recall a few years ago we did a story on a man named Daniel. Well, tonight we have an update for you.
Our update began when King Nebuchadnezzar awoke terrified from a dream. He called all of his wise men to himself and asked them to first tell him what the dream he had had was, and then to interpret the dream for him. Of course, the wise men were unable to do this, which sent King Nebuchadnezzar into a rage as he threatened to behead all of his sorcerers.
This is when our hero Daniel stepped onto the scene. Daniel asked King Nebuchadnezzar for a day's time to do as he wished. Nebuchadnezzar granted this wish, so Daniel went to God in prayer, asking him to reveal his dream to Daniel. Daniel then went to the king and told him what the dream meant and interpreted it.
For more on this story, we go to a live witness who was in Babylon at the time of the dream interpretation.
In Nebuchadnezzar's dream, he saw before him a large statue made of multiple metals. According to Daniel, given to him by God, the head of gold represented Babylon, and Nebuchadnezzar was that head of gold. The chest and arms of silver represented Medo-Persia. After Nebuchadnezzar, another kingdom would rise inferior to his. Two arms represented divided nature of the second empire. The bellies and thighs of bronze equaled Greece, the third kingdom that will rise over all the earth. The legs of iron represented Rome, meaning it was as strong as iron. The feet of iron and clay represented the 10-kingdom Roman Confederacy. Partly clay, partly iron meant it was partly strong but partly fragile. They won't represent each other truthfully, just as iron doesn't mix with clay.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of the BIBLE Network. And boy, do we have a hot story for you.
That's right, Landon. The fires on this story were stoked when King Nebuchadnezzar had a full gold statue of himself erected in the middle of Babylon. Anytime that the horns played and the sound of music was heard, all the people of Babylon were required to bow down and worship King Nebuchadnezzar. The penalty for not bowing down? You would be thrown into the fiery furnace. Now this was just the situation that three of our friends found themselves in. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were Jews who believed the Jewish scriptures which say there is no other God before the Jewish God.
Servants of King Nebuchadnezzar ratted out Daniel's friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, for not bowing down and still praying to their God. Being furious, King Nebuchadnezzar ordered the furnace to be 7 times hotter than its usual temperature. The guards who threw them in were killed because of how hot it was.
Bystanders on the scene began to notice a 4th figure in the fire. This alarmed King Nebuchadnezzar, and he called out the 3 men who had been protected. He noticed that they were untouched and did not even smell like smoke. King Nebuchadnezzar then praised the Jewish God and said, "Praise be to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego."
Thank you so much for joining us on this edition of the BIBLE Network. We hope to catch you soon. Boy, did the stories just keep pouring in from Babylon. This is the BIBLE Network. Welcome. Let's get started.
Our leading story tonight began when King Nebuchadnezzar had another dream which his wise men again could not interpret. On the scene with the king, we have our field reporter, Jeffrey. Jeffrey here, live from Babylon, where we are with the king himself, Nebuchadnezzar. Your Highness, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. Now we know you've recently had a very distressing dream. Could you tell us what that dream entailed?
Yes, sir. In my dream, there was an enormous tree in the middle of the land. This tree provided food for the people and the animals. It also offered shelter for the beasts and a home for the birds. In my dream, a heavenly messenger came down and told me to cut down the tree. He said, "Let a stump and root remain in the ground." And he told me to let my mind be changed from that of a man into an animal.
Well, that is quite the cryptic dream there, King. Was there any idea what that meant? Did anybody help you to interpret that dream?
Yes, actually there was a prophet Daniel who interpreted the dream. He was very concerned for me, and he told me that the tree, in fact, represented a king in greatness.
So you?
Yes, correct. I need to live in the wilderness and let myself be an animal until I can acknowledge God's sovereignty.
That is quite the interpretation. Well, we wish you luck in the rest of your time as king, and thank you again for joining us.
Thank you so much for that riveting interview, Jeffrey.
No, it really is incredible that the king could even make it out for that interview with us, since he has only recently had his kingdom and sanity restored to him.
Yes, in fact, 12 months after the dream was interpreted by Daniel, King Nebuchadnezzar lived like an animal, acknowledging God's sovereignty.
Quite the story there, Landon. Well, that's all we have for you tonight. We'll sign off from BIBLE Network.
Hello and welcome to a mysterious edition of the BIBLE News. I'm Landon.
I'm Cameron.
And those are our names. Tonight's story revolves around King Belshazzar throwing a party for 1,000 of his nobles. At this party, King Belshazzar was drunk, and he ordered servants to bring out goblets that Nebuchadnezzar had taken from the temple in Jerusalem. People drank from them, passing them around, praising the gods of gold, silver, and bronze. A human hand suddenly appeared and writes on the wall.
Belshazzar was obviously in a tizzy and commanded his people to interpret the writing. He offers a reward to be the 3rd highest ruler in the kingdom. Unfortunately, nobody could interpret the writing. That is when the queen suggested Daniel, the prophet who had interpreted multiple of Nebuchadnezzar's dreams in the past. Daniel refuses the reward, but agrees to interpret the dream. The interpretation is as follows. Belshazzar's days are numbered and are ending. Belshazzar is being weighed and found lacking, and his kingdom will be divided and given to the Medes and the Persians.
Now, although we do not know where this hand comes from, we do know that Daniel was rewarded to be the 3rd highest ruler, and Belshazzar was killed.
A sad and somber night with a tinge of mystery. We thank you for tuning in. I'm Landon.
I'm Cameron.
And those are not our names.
deception, lies, and betrayal. Welcome to a ferocious edition of the BIBLE Network.
Our lead story tonight, The Lion's Den. Things began when some servants in the kingdom began to become jealous of Daniel for the favor he had received for the amazing prophecies that he had given to King Nebuchadnezzar and to King Belshazzar. They suggested to the present King Darius that he proclaim a law that if anyone prays to a god besides the king, he should be thrown into the lion's den. The king agrees. Of course, the servants knew that Daniel prayed to God 3 times every day, so it was just a ploy to get Daniel in trouble. The jealous individuals find Daniel and bring him to King Darius. Darius was hesitant at first to throw Daniel in the lion's den because he favors Daniel too, but he decides he should not go back on his word because his word is law.
We now go live to the scene where we see King Darius at the peak of morning go to check on his friend.
Alright, King Darius, here it's the morning, but I didn't sleep at all last night because I'm just so nervous about my friend Daniel, who's been in the lion's den. I threw him in there, and I just hope that he's not dead. So we're going to check in there right now and see if he's alright. Daniel, servant of the living God, whom you serve continually, has your God been able to protect you from the lions?
I'm alive!
Yay! Yay! Hoorah! Hooray!
And there you have it, folks, a riveting story built on love, friendship, and faith. We hope to see you next time, but for now, that's all we have. Thanks for tuning in to the BIBLE Network. I'm Landon.
I'm Cameron.
And we're out. Hope to see you next time.